So I request the panelists to come over. Mr. Ajay Gupta, Mani, can you switch on the... Ajay Gupta, can you please come over? This is a profile of Ajay Gupta. Mr. Babu Jayendran. Yeah. Narsimhan, you can also join. Vittal Raj. Yeah. Okay. Narsimhan, you can come. Anand, Jangid. I don't have the CV of Anand, but Anand, you know, doesn't require any introduction. He's a chartered accountant who's also specialized in information technology. We'll have Narsimhan also as part of the panel discussion. Let's complete a few formalities. I think we need to have memento for Narsimhan. Can I request our friend there in the end? Sir, can you come over? Narsimhan? Yeah. Let's finish the formalities, then we'll get directly into the questions. Can you hand out to Narsimhan? We'll have a friend from here. Can you come over? Yeah. So, Ajay. Mr. Anand, Jangid. Sorry, can you come on? Yeah. Yes. Okay, we have discussed quite a lot about what are the technology challenges, frontiers, solutions. So what I thought is I'll just give 3 minutes to our speakers whom we have not heard so that I can just share their perspectives on the technology summit. We'll start with Ajay. You would like to start?
You start. Go ahead.
Hello.
You can sit down and speak, I think. It should be okay. Yeah.
I think it's a great learning. If I just correlate myself, probably like 25 years back when I was doing my articleship, and when I started articleship, I probably audited in a company whose turnover was 15 crore, 20 crore, 50 crore at the most. Then I observed a kind of another scale of operations when I went for a first time after I qualified and went to a company. It was an engineering company whose turnover was over 125 crore. And when I went for auditing over there, I was kind of absolutely lost because I had done my articleship in an environment which was absolutely manual. We were writing the manual books of account. I went to a company which was very, like a multinational engineering company. And then were absolutely, advanced applications. 15, 20 years down the line when I went for auditing another telecom company, I saw another surprise where the turnover of the company is about 40, 50,000 crore. And if you want to kind of use the sampling methods, I found, for example, for a prepaid business, there are not less than 4,000 crore worth of transactions. And I was just, wondering what kind of sampling, methods or techniques I can use. Then I could see the real power of how can we utilize the data analytics, we utilize the concept of systems audit, revenue assurance, etc. And the same I think we're seeing nowadays in terms of the mobile wallets, electronic e-commerce, and telecom, etc. So I think the days to come, it's only for the people who are working and utilizing the strength of technology for the purpose of business and for the purpose of audit. And I think we have a great potential because we as a chartered accountants have good understanding of finance. We know the business. Only it's a matter of utilizing our knowledge of finance, of accounts, of business rules, and then just correlate and apply to the technology. And I think we can do the miracles in that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Anand here. So, when Rafeq sir told me about the conference and the panel discussion, and he was telling it should be on the theme. So I was going through the theme. So, I'm sure you're attending the whole session from morning and you've heard speakers like Babu sir, Mr. Rafeq, you've heard everyone. Now, are you optimist about the future or are you pessimist about the future? Come on, be honest. How many of you are optimist? Okay. How many are pessimist, like, ye to khatam ho gaya, bas abhi, new career, new CA, other things, something? No one? So, let me tell you one thing. How many of you heard about this word, the word called VUCA world? VUCA, this abbreviation? Okay, one person out there. Is the term which is defined by American military for what is happening in Afghanistan and Iraq. It stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. An environment which we are today, a business. So I will actually play the devil's advocate. Let me be the bad guy in the thing. I think future doesn't look nice. The reason is the kind of business environment and the dynamics which are going through is going to be, we have to upgrade ourselves to a great extent to be able to meet the demand. Gone are the days when you can do sampling. Even if we are doing sampling right now, I think with the technology which is there, why can't we do 100% auditing? And I think I had my principal also here today, and I was just talking to him. I still remember when my time, or articleship time, when they have to punish me for something wrong, they used to say 100% vouching. Okay, but today 100% vouching is feasible, but still we are not doing it. Why? Honestly, we have not changed. And let me tell you one thing: this word CA leading the change, I think there's a long way to go. There are people, we have seen I met a lot of people here who are doing amazing stuff. I was talking to Sachin sir, and what they are doing is amazing. But are we all doing it collectively? Because ultimately, one person cannot lead the whole profession. All of us have to come together. So my point was there are only two things which I messaged. One was on the VUCA, and the second thing is, if you get a chance, go to IIA website, Institute of Internal Auditor website, and see. They did a survey on directors of the companies and audit professionals across US. And the result was shocking. Audit professionals were saying, we are great, we have done an amazing job, okay? When the ratings were coming that we have done a great stuff, and this year, 2016 was the greatest year for audit profession and blah, blah, blah. And on the other side, the stakeholder, the directors were saying, audit need to scale up. They are not giving us what is there. Despite so much of money being spent on auditing, internal audit, stat audit, and everything, frauds are happening, things are not going well, there are leakage, blah, blah, blah. So it's a time for introspection for the whole profession to see what we can do and how we can all work together. And that's my point of view.
So we'll start with
Babu sir.
Babu, would you like to share some perspective on the emerging challenges, especially from the digital perspective of CAs and how we can update?
Yeah. Before I say anything on that, I want to just, in the lighter vein, because Narasimhan was the last speaker, and the last thing he spoke about was on passwords. I think you all must have heard about this wise guy who put his password as invalid, because he said, if I forget it, the system will say your password is invalid. So, okay. Now coming to the challenges, I personally think that, I keep telling everybody, chartered accountant and technology is a very lethal combination. And if chartered accountants can, because there is no doubt about the knowledge of CAs. I mean, to become a chartered accountant, you're definitely above average IQ, and you are an intelligent person. So if you can bring in the concept, all these concepts on technology also, I'm absolutely certain that we will have a profession of who can really take the world. I mean, not just India. We can have people who can really take the world, like the Indian IT industry has really taken on the world. I'm sure the CA profession will also do. But in order to do that, I think you've got to take the plunge. You really cannot learn mathematics sitting on a bed and reading a maths book, or you can't do accounting. You have to actually solve problems and do it. So like Nike says, just do it.
most of you are chartered accountants, and you started in a traditional way. You also are not born with the special technology skills. So what is that which got you into this technology, passion for technology and updating yourself with technology? And how do you keep yourself up to date? Because considering the technology keeps on changing.
I don't know if I keep myself up to date, that's for sure. Because there's so much of happening, and I think to answer the first part of your question, to be very frank, it so happened that my spark, if you can say, started with when we started practice and we were hunting for work, and some kind soul, he said, Acha, our fixed deposit subsidiary ledger and general ledger is out of balance. So please reconcile it and give it to me. So 2 chartered accountants, me and my partner, we used to really go there very religiously, sit down and start reconciling. Then we realized that there were more than 40,000 depositors, and number of the fixed deposits, renewals and this and that put together went up by some kind of humongous number. The difference between the GL and the SL was a figure which was more than the fixed deposits, I think. Right? So then what happened was, what struck me was that there was one doctor, I still remember, he was one of the depositors, and he had encashed his fixed deposit 8 times. The same fixed deposit certificate, he has encashed it 8 times. Now, it was really amazing for me, because how could it be done? So, they had obviously computerized systems. But then I said, how does he do it? Because then we found that what he does is, he had a very, very excellent methodology. First, he understood the weakness of the organization. They don't have control over their computerized reconciliation. The second thing, he knew that there was no reference back into the database. So how he would do is, he will go to branch A. He would say, my fixed deposit certificate is lost. So then, they would say, okay, give me an indemnity bond, because they can't check these records inside. So he'll take the indemnity bond and then give him the cash, the check. He will go to another branch in a different city, do the same thing. Then third thing, fourth thing. 8th time when he was doing, we obviously we put the police around him, and the company caught him red-handed. But the fundamental thing, which this is only one case, how many he would have inspired? That was a big problem. And said, why can't the system have solved this problem? And that's where my interest in system audit really started. I thought, till that time I thought, if it is computerized, it is like holy trust. Then I said, oh my God, if it is computerized, it is never trustworthy. So that is where this thing started, and I said, we really have to understand this. And then there was something called CISA. I started with programming and trying out things as a utter failure, because I tried to write programs which are humongous number of lines, which another programmer guy to achieve in maybe half the number of lines. But then all that put through an understanding of how all these things work. Of course, those are years when I said we had BASIC as the programming language. And then I learned Fox Pro and tried to do all that. Then came CISA. So I said, programming is what I want to do. I'm a chartered accountant, so let me look at understanding this. And CISA is where it really made the difference, because here was the business technology perspective to the entire thing. Please understand, technology perspective is completely different. We can never match a technology guy. But what matters is, let me tell you where I really succeed today. If I look back and say, can I match myself to any technologist? Absolutely no. But then, you go and speak the language of the board with regard to the problem at the ground. And that's what the board understands. And that's the only value add, if you see, I actually bring on the table. But then that's such a big value add, because if a technology goes and tells the board, saying that, oh, your firewall is open and we have done a VAPT report, port router service, blah, 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 they'll say, what's happening? What is the problem? So that is where you start relating. So that is where I think that was a spark. Of course, I led from one into another. Then obviously I picked up interest more in technology. Now, of course, we do more very complex system audit, the digital wallet stuff and all. The more you start knowing about it, mind you, there is so much of work that only a chartered accountant enabled technologist can do. Otherwise, just not possible. That's my take.
Thank you.
One more thing on this, for example, about maybe 1998 or so, I was auditing a financial services company, and while auditing, I asked for the lease management revenue or the hire purchase revenue. The only answer which I got is that this is the system computerized output, please take and accept it, and this is a kind of revenue recognition. And then, kind of debating, how can we accept the completeness, accuracy, etc., and believe even into the details. The CFO and the technology team was not even able to answer how the calculations have been performed because the programmer who prepared the report had left the company and the company had kind of no clue. So, these are the kind of instances, obviously, because when we are giving an opinion, we are when we are talking about the true and fair view, I think it makes sense for us to go into the detail and verify whether the numbers which are coming are really trustworthy or not.
Yeah. Now, Ajay, I have one question for you. What is the change you need to bring about? Because you have been Capgemini and you're delivering services. You also worked in various types of big four firms. What is the change in the approach, especially in the technology era, in the digital age now? What are services you're providing now? What do you think is the change in perspectives in the approach you have to bring in?
See, if I look back again, maybe at least for me, somewhere from early 90s, when like the ERPs came in, that brought a different kind of culture into the organizations, the way the transactions are performed and the way they're kind of stored. Then kind of came the era of the internet banking, internet, Java programming, etc. And now again, we are doing a lot of business with like mobile technologies, e-wallets, etc. So I think what is only important for us is one, to be aware of the technological changes, because whatever we do, whatever the businesses are utilizing the technology, I think it makes sense for understand that, and most importantly, trying to evaluate what can go wrong, because those are the risks. And especially while we are finance professionals, at least I always like to see what kind of fraud, etc., can be conducted, because if I am an employee of the company, I'm the finance controller or the CFO, I've got a different kind of responsibilities to the management. And if I'm auditing the same thing from the external or internal auditor, the expectations are way different both from the stakeholders, which is internal, or the shareholders, etc. So the only thing which at least I have learned over a period of time is know the business of the client, know the technology, and then just try to correlate as a layman what this technology is using, what can go wrong, and what kind of role or value addition which you can play both for your internal as external stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay. I think the most important point which is brought out is you need to look at technology from a business user perspective. And once you understand the business user perspective, then as auditors, you're supposed to be control experts. You can bring in the control perspective also. Babu, I have one question for you. Now, you have been using technology since decades, more than 3 decades or so. Now, you have been always keeping yourself up to date. Now, do you think over the years, technology has become easier or more difficult to learn and update?
See, initially when I got into systems audit in 1980, that switch was a little difficult initially. Although I had a mathematics background, but that had nothing to do with computer science. But that was difficult. And so to understand, the first time, like Vittal was telling how he got into systems audit, the way I got into systems audit is when I saw a sales report where the discount was greater than the discount figure was greater than the net sales figure. And that's when I realized that something is wrong with these computers. And, so after some time, once I started getting into and once I started interacting a lot with techies and programmers, it helped me understand this much, much better. So I always suggest to young chartered accountants who are students and things like that, because you live in India, and especially in Bangalore, we have the added advantage that we all have tech friends. And, instead of spending your time on WhatsApp and Facebook, just sit on a Saturday afternoon with your tech friend and tell him to explain to you what a database is, tell him to explain to you how data flows. These are simple things for him. And he may want something in return, and you can explain to him what a business process is. So both of you will become better people and better professionals. So to answer your question, Rafeq, initially it was difficult. But the only way I have kept up to date with what's happening in the world is I surf a lot. I spend a lot of time on the internet for from the time the internet started. You know, I spent a few hours on the internet. And I think that has given me more knowledge, especially after Google has come. It has given me more knowledge than all the books I have read to pass exams.
Okay. So can we say that now, if you see most of us, I think especially in the terms of technology, it's not that we attended specialized courses. One of the questions we quite often ask, how do I attend specialized courses? Most of us, after some period of time, I think we actually are self-taught. We can always learn anything.
Yeah.
So let's say you're talking about now this neural networks.
Correct.
So you always, how do you get into you get into the SAP, you got into GRC?
Oh, everything. I learned a lot of this stuff by myself. Now, even if I take SAP GRC, see, I'm a strong believer that unless you get your hands wet, you will never learn it. You cannot buy a book and just read about, say, SAP GRC. So, you know, there were, the company I was consulting for, those staff used to tell me, sir, why are you sitting so late and configuring, you know, this, we will do it for you. But I used to configure, you know, because once you do it, you will not forget it. It's like learning to ride a cycle. You know, you learn to ride a cycle as a little kid. You know, 50 years later, someone gives you a cycle, you'll just ride it. So I always believe that you have to get hands-on. And if you want to, you know, luckily today we get alerts coming from, you know, TechCrunch and Grudge and all that. If you keep going into all these TechCrunch magazines, you'll know exactly what's happening in the world. You read CIO.com, you will get an understanding of what's happening. Then the things that you don't understand, all you have to do, right-click and say search with Google. Simple as that. And that's the way you keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it very clearly demonstrates that for those who are interested and inclined to learn, there is no dearth of resources. In fact, Vittal also was talking about Coursera. There are so many online courses. In fact, I have done a lot of online courses from the best of the universities across the world. And I did it sitting at home. And the best part was I could learn free, and not only that, I could compete with those guys and know that, okay, I can also reach that particular level. Now, if I were to do the course at Stanford, I know how much it costs. But I can do it free of cost sitting at home. The only thing which is required is we need to have time. The second important thing which I found most of CAs, especially when I interact with them, is they want to learn technology by sitting in the back seat. Okay, you cannot learn driving by sitting in the back seat. You have to get on the driving seat. Only then you can drive. Babu, there is a question I thought we shall ask you. Neural networks are costly. Billions are being invested by companies. So is this going to marginalize SMEs and NGOs as they don't have the necessary money and expertise? Maybe you can answer this.
No, as we go along, you see, I mentioned in my talk also that the computational power was not available in the early 20 years back when neural networks concept came out. But today the computational power has gone. You know, it's very much easier to get it, and the prices are also crashing. If you see some of the server farms that are there for Google and Facebook and all that, I mean, they're huge. I mean, they're like warehouses where the server farms are there. So as we go along, I'm sure it is going to come down, and I'm very, very certain that some of these neural networks, I mean, the actual neural network cannot run on a phone, but the results and the output, you know, you can run it on the cloud. I was mentioning about TensorFlow. I was mentioning about, you know, some of the Watson analytics and all that. You can use those APIs, and then you can get the output, which will give you results on a mobile phone. You know, that can be done. So you talking about SMEs, you know, as long as you have these services available on the cloud, you don't have to put up you know, the product that we created, okay? Now, the one which I showed you all, we are not a large company, right? We are a small company. You know, with about 30 programmers or 40 programmers, we have created that product. That neural network runs on a normal server. You know, it runs on a normal server, a Dell server that we bought here in Bangalore. Okay, it may take 3 days for it to do the learning and the training for the initial data. But however, it can be done even for an SME. There's no problem at all.
Yeah, thank you, Babu.
Just to add on to his point, I think over a point in time, SaaS model will take over. everywhere you have software as a service. In fact, I was just browsing through when I was speaking about cyber security. There is a software vendor available who sells ransomware as a service. It's a RAS model. Alright, so which means even cyber activists or cyber criminals, they have a shopping portal where they can pick up what sort of an attack and they just go and plant it, and this is available, and there's something called as the dark web. Alright, where settlement happens in bitcoins and etc. So this is available. When those people can put in so much of efforts to do dangerous thing, we are doing the right thing. So I think it's time we put in much more efforts in it.
Yeah, there's a question for you.
Yes.
I logged into LinkedIn, got a message that our account has been blocked because of unauthorized use or restricted areas. I'm hardly a user on social media and LinkedIn. After that, LinkedIn is not allowing me to create a user login. So, what are the email ID you give?
Okay.
What should I do?
Okay, so there are multiple reasons why your LinkedIn account perhaps could have been, you have used it once, and after which you forgot to log out. The history could have still been there and somebody else has, changed the password settings, etc. What you can do is, if you are the genuine user, you can write to recovery. There's an ID called as recovery in LinkedIn. If you go, you search in the media, you'll get it. So even for that matter, even Google does it. Alright, so you write to them, they will take 2 to 3 days because this is an offline recovery. They will have to verify whether you are the person, and they'll ask you when was the last time you configured, etc. Some more questions you can give it, and then you'll be able to recover it.
Yeah, one more related question. Often I get emails from Hotmail to my registered mail only that our email has been accessed by a remote location other than our regular one. So as a security measure, that deactivating our account, whom to comply?
Please enable 2 or 3 factor authentication immediately. If you are especially using Google, I think you have that feature. If you are using any new web browser, it will immediately give you an alert. In fact, even if you use an incognito, you use a cognito, there is a normal mode and a hidden mode, it will give an alert saying that you are accessing from a new website. That is one. Second, especially if you are using Gmail, towards the toe end you will get an analysis. When was the last time you used it and which IP address you have used it. So please click on that link, you will get some information. And these are simple ways you can protect yourself. And in case you want to alert, I think you will have again recovery organizations or any other people of their organization, please do write to them.
Yeah. Anand, question for you.
Yes.
You got into this technology domain and you are providing security related consulting. You're also developing apps pertaining to data analytics and data mining.
Yeah.
So how did you get interested and what is the suggestion for CS who want to look at new opportunities? What is that they can do?
So I had never had this what Sir said, that they found something and then they got interested. I always find IT glamorous, so I just got into that because being a CA, the only interesting thing was when you play with IT and something interesting comes up. Presently what I work is on something very similar to what Sir does on machine learning and other areas. And I honestly feel that in time to come, as auditors and chartered accountants, we should be more as a business consultant who interpret the data, not play with the data or anything. And from that perspective, I work in this field now and try to work out. And my suggestion to everyone is this is something which they can go for it and try to see. As Sir said, get your hand dirty. Nothing is going to happen. Maximum, it crashes, you just restart, reboot it, or you start playing it again. That's what I could always say.
Okay. Ajay, how do you think CS can be thought leaders in technology? You can give some ideas. What do you think CS can do?
I think I always talk about the 2 roles which chartered accountants can always play. One as an auditor and second as a consulting opportunities. As a thought leader, I think I try to restrict myself primarily from the functional side or from the business side of whatever we do. So long as we understand the business model, so long as we understand the business and we understand the business rules, I think the only thought leadership or the area which we can always embark upon is utilizing our finance capabilities, leveraging the use of technology, and then trying to address again the risks, because as a chartered accountants, I believe we are the born auditors who always feel what can go wrong. And I think the answers lies over there. If this can go wrong, this is what we utilize as part of the assurance opportunities. And the bigger opportunities honestly lies in the consulting, where you go and tell your business associates or clients as to how you can implement the controls in the processes. So for example, let's say revenue assurance is one of the big area where if I go into the e-wallets, a lot of companies are giving a lot of cashbacks, etc. If you go and tell the CEO of a company that fine, your internal audit department is doing a lot of compliance to the processes, etc. But do you have a confidence that there is no kind of revenue leakage? The amount of cashback which should go, if the actual cashback disbursement is going more than that, etc. So I think these are the areas where you can look upon and approach your clients. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of acceptability from the clients because we are talking about saving hardware cash for them.
Okay. Thank you, Ajay. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, just to add on to what Mr. Ajay said,
Yeah.
I feel that what we can start doing immediately is we have already been auditing all the, since the last 3 years, 5 years, we have been auditing multiple clients. Just pick up one client, 2 clients and see what you can give add-on information. It could be the same balance sheet and same P&L account, but analyze it in a different perspective and give him a new way so that he understands that you are not only a post-mortem analysis, but you can also, or you are also capable of giving a prediction. So I think that will be a proactive versus a reactive approach.
Okay. Which means what you're saying is when you do your regular audit, as a part of a regular audit, don't do it in the regular way. Also use this opportunity to learn the technology which is being used and see how best we can look at the risk from a technology perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but one more thing, like for example, if you talk about the BPOs and the shared service centers where every transaction, be it the purchase invoice, be it the revenue recognition, be it the journal entries, there are thousands and millions of transactions which are getting processed. Now, can you get an assurance that everything is happening correctly? Because your clients are saying there need not be any duplicate payment, and if that happens, probably that's to your account. Even I won't accept 99.99% accuracy. So I think we have to look at the need of the client. We have to look at the business scenario, and of course, ultimately relying back onto the technology where we can, we can be into the business, use the technology, but at the same time, try to give comfort to the client.
Thank you, Ajay. Any questions? Okay, I'll ask you a question on your behalf. One question to Vittal. Vittal, see, there is always this chicken and egg theory. Okay, I want to get into this technology area. Okay, but for that I need experience. How do I get experience if I don't get the assignments? So how do I break this chicken and egg theory?
I think it's most asked question that I get from many of my friends here. See, the first thing is, all of us want to go to the moon, yes? Yes or no? How many of you want to go to the moon if you're given an opportunity? Obviously, free of cost.
No, more than that, I think they're not raising that because they're not aware
The
of
first thing you want to know before you go to the moon, what is it? Where are you now? So, any journey, I think, has to start with understanding ourselves. One of the important things, as many psychologists say, is simply talking to yourself. How many of you do talking to yourself? No? It's very important to do that. So it's very, very important to really sit, silently look at yourself. Otherwise, we have this very big image which is there outside. And actually keep on saying, auditor saab, then you really start looking at yourself, and if you put in, let us say, Australia or somewhere today, in a competitive situation, they'll say audit clerk. So we have to really see, are we standing up in terms of where we are to where we want to be, and is it somewhat realistic? I mean, answering that question, the most often question I get asked is, how to get into systems audit? I have done DISA, no use. 5 years I have done DISA, what is the point? Where is the opportunity? First of all, I think we have to understand that the first of the opportunities could be very much under your feet. So as I said, let's look at application controls. That's what I said. I mean, if you go back, if you take this question of where do I start with, systems audit. Application controls is a very simple thing of trying to understand what is a process, what is the process automation, what are the risks and controls, what configurations need to be there, how does it work. If we give that much, which can be done by simply walking through the various application process, and this is something which is fundamental to internal controls or financial reporting and internal financial controls. And that can enable you into tremendous confidence in terms of doing SOX audits. And then obvious questions you will start asking. Okay, where is it stored in the database? What happens to the network? So then it becomes easy. Otherwise, if I was to take a class on you, say, Acha, what is router, browser? You say, Acha, looks nice, but what do we make use of it? Absolutely no use. I'm sure you've done enough in DISA, right? So it is not going to make use. So it is to make that first start from where you are in terms of a comfort zone and then take that very first step towards that. So once you do that, I'm telling you one by one opportunities are, but there has to be one fundamental driver. The curiosity has to kill you. So once you have that, you'll automatically keep on learning. You'll automatically keep on, it won't let you sleep. You say, acha, now I have seen this. How does this, automatically go and get debited there in the system? You'll start trying to ask questions. You'll try trying to explore. And today, your Googles and YouTubes and all are kind of our Adi Gurus now, right? So you learn so much from them, like as Babu said. Each of us, for some reason, we keep on spending average 3 to 4 hours a week at least on the internet. I don't think anything less. But the question is, where do we invest that? One of the things I learned over time is what not to follow on the internet. It's very difficult, mind you. Because look at the impulse on WhatsApp. You go and say, acha, 5 minutes. Then you found that you spent 3 hours. And what is the value at the end of that?
Nothing.
Gupshup. Nothing else, right? So if you can really say, okay, gupshup is fine. You want to really have that little kick of gupshup, that's fine. But then restrict that to half an hour a day. And then you start investing in saying at least one new concept a day, that's it. And there are tremendous amounts of RSS feeds and websites. If you enroll there, it will send you one terminology a day. There's something called whatis.com. Simply enroll for that and say one technology terminology per day. It will keep on sending you something, you keep on learning. I think that will take you places.
Yeah, thank you, Vittal. It's like one interviewer was asked when he was applying for a job, what is your experience? He said, I have got 15 years experience. This interviewer looked at his biodata, went through his CV, and said, gentlemen, I'd like to correct. It's not 15 years experience, it's 1 year experience repeated 15 times. One thing I found fascinating in information technology is, let's say if you compare with the general compliance related audits, I've done compliance audit, tax audit. Now what's more there to learn? After 2-3 years, you know everything about tax audit. But in the technology domain, every new assignment is a new learning. You so get excited because of something new you're learning, and you also have a feeling that you're contributing value to the business. And the client also doesn't creep about paying because you know that you actually provided value. That's the most fascinating part about information system. So we'll wind up this panel with one quick question, and that I want each of one of you to give two. Now they have attended the technology summit. The very fact that you attended here and you're still here shows that you're still interested and eager to learn. So what I'd like to know is just give us 2 tips which you can carry home and start exploring. Narasimhan?
Yeah. One is trying to be proactive. Try to do some bit of analysis in your own domain. And second is please evaluate new opportunities. In your own client profile, you'll have a huge amount of opportunities. I think that will be.
Yeah, thank you. Anand?
I would say challenge yourself. Do 2 things which is new things for yourself. Let it be a new audit. Like for example, if you're doing a bank audit next time or branch audit, try to find out before you issue a certificate on capital adequacy whether the data which has come out is coming from the right source or not. At least that one you can try to do that. And the second one, audit your own office. As a lot of things Nasimha was studying. Do these 2 things, that should enough for do that.
Okay, thank you, Anand. Babu?
Yeah, I only have to tell you that IT is really not rocket science, okay? And if all of you can pass the final exam, income tax paper, which is also IT, this is kindergarten stuff. So let me tell you, it's very easy. Just take the plunge. And my second tip is that just interact a lot more with tech people. It'll help you. And all of you have some tech friends. Just spend some time with them, ask them doubts. You can even do it in a pub if you want to do it, over some beer or something like that. But just do it. Just contact them, talk to them. They will explain very simple way and give them something back in terms of business processes.
Yeah, Ajay?
I think the real journey start after, it doesn't end at becoming chartered accountants. It's really start after becoming the chartered accountant, because that's where we are giving opinion, we are signing the balance sheets. So I think what we need to do is basically read. There is a lot of data available, as everybody mentioned, on the internet. Educate yourself. That's only key, because the technology will keep changing. What you're seeing today probably will not be there after 5 years. So unless and until we keep updated ourselves, we will become kind of irrelevant if you don't update.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay. Vittal?
2 things I have learned. At least half a day in a week, we introduce it in our office. Get all your staff together. You don't speak, let them speak. the tremendous amount of insights that you get into how they do the work, what they know, you'll be amazed about how much they know. And don't talk only, audit. Let them speak something which is different, but of course, associate with the subject. And you'll be amazed to find how much you can exchange and how much you can actually improve. Second, with the clients, do that. Pick up one client at least a week. I mean, depend upon how many clients you want. Have a chat with them on non-audit, non-taxation issue. Otherwise start advanced tax. No, don't do that. Just ask him what's your business like, how does it run? Get him interested. Otherwise, for him, you only mean due date. Right? Otherwise, he never thinks about you. Let's be very clear, isn't it? So, once you start doing that, I think that will spur tremendous amount of insight into the way we think. That is one. Second, read something new and write an article either in LinkedIn. It may be just one paragraph. It doesn't matter. It may be in the area that you love the most. But do that. What happens is you will be amazed to see that how much you are recognized. How much people really, like what you write. And that will increase your confidence like God knows how many times. We Chardowns in India don't do that. We are somehow the most conservative, most introverted lot. I think we got to change that. If we Chardownans start talking on subjects, let me assure you, every, faculty, with due respects to them, we can make a difference. Because ultimately, paisa matters.
Yeah, thank you, Vittal. To summarize the discussion, I thought we'll give you 3 ideas. One, most of the chartered accountants are very busy professionals. You have aspiration, but you don't have the time to invest. Okay, so it's not enough if you've got an aspiration. It's also important you need to have inclination, and you need to move from the idea stage to the implementation stage. So you need to look at how you can carve out the time from your busy schedule. Invest certain time in your, what is called as a research and maintenance. Most of the time is spent in the research and development, repairs and development, most of the time. You also need to spend time on the research and maintenance. The second part, I think, is as chartered accountants, we know we get a thrill in solving problems. I think we need to get that. When you find a problem, you get restless. You don't rest till you solve the problem, and that gives you a thrill and high. And with technology, you can definitely solve new dimensions of problems which you not even imagined. The third thing which is most important, I think with this could be the conclusion, where he said, Bill Gates was once asked, what is the secret of his success? And he said, quite early in life, I learned how to learn. And in technology, if you look at all the people who have spoken on technology, this is one thing which has become a part of their DNA. They've learned how to learn. And that's what you've done in GST, income tax, VAT, anything else. Now the same type of a learning skill you need to bring to information technology. So with this, I would like to conclude with the story. It said, Swami Chinmayananda said this, when you're driving on a highway, and the highway you cannot expect to be lit. Okay, now you have to drive during the night. But you have headlights. The range of the headlight may be only 20 or 30 feet. But if your headlights are on, you can drive hundreds of miles. So what is the objective of the technology summit? To just show you that there are headlights, there are highway, and there are a lot of journeys you can travel. But you need to remember that you need to drive, and before driving, also activate and use the right headlights as required. So I hope this summit provided you some insights, and it was useful to you. For us, it was a great learning experience. Thank you very much. And now I hand over to our Bangalore branch to complete the formalities.